It's time for Bourbon with Friends, the bourbon podcast that never takes itself too seriously. Pull up a chair, grab a glass, and remember, a bourbon with friends can change the world. Here we go.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bourbon with Friends. Myself, Adrian, and Martin are here to talk about whiskeys from around the world and how a bourbon with friends or whiskey can change the world. How are you guys?
Just dandy.
Good, doing good.
Doing good. It's
not
not like we haven't talked.
I was gonna say I was trying to
24 hours.
I was trying to think of something. I'm just like, usually we talk about our weekend, but we did that already, so I can't replicate it. I can't duplicate it.
We're really bonding this week, you guys.
You know
oh my
what?
Gosh.
You know, it does seem that way.
It is Thanksgiving, right? It's the perfect time to be grateful and thankful for friends.
Well, what are you guys
100%.
What are you guys doing for Thanksgiving? Speaking of,
Just going to my mom's house.
we didn't talk about this the other night, did we?
No, I don't think so. Not here, we didn't.
I don't remember. So you're going to your mom's,
that's a great
Brian?
question. I'm staying here.
Yeah, just hanging out in the mountains. Is family coming to you this year?
My mom's actually up here now, so.
Oh, nice.
Invite her. We should have interviewed her. I'd like to get to know the mama doer.
No. No one needs to know my mom is a 5'1" ginger who's angrier than shit. So,
and I'd probably be the last person on earth you'd allow her to speak to be honest with you. Yeah, I assume so.
Yes.
I would.
You'd be okay with it, right?
I think I would be okay.
It's fine. Martin, no.
Okay. Just trying to talk to moms out here. Wow, but no, I'm keeping it low key. I'm on dessert duty because that's all they trust me to bring.
You mean buy?
To buy? Yeah, there's no way I'm making that. I've actually got to go after we record this podcast and buy a pie. So I'm buying two just a backup because nobody in my family likes fucking pumpkin pie. I always buy it and I think someone likes it and then no one eats it. So I bring it home and then I eat the whole thing and I feel fat. So I'm not going to do that this year. I'm just buying 2 apple crumbles. So that's all I'm doing.
There you go.
So, nice.
I feel like I need to send you a pumpkin pie now. So
you should. That'd be great. You can do that if you want.
Your birthday gift didn't show up, so
no, it came up short. But so let's see. What are we doing today? What are we doing today? Who are we hanging out with?
Do you know who we're hanging out with?
I do know, but you always introduce them. That's your job. Sometimes, yeah.
Well, I mean, they're two pretty fun people that I met 2 years ago or last year. It's been a blur of the last couple years, but they are the owners and founders of 1620 Distilling Company. I wanted to say this correct. Right. Alyson and Kyle.
Hi, Alyson and Kyle. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the Mute Show.
The Mute Show.
My bad. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It happens. It truly does.
Yeah.
Dogs were barking.
We were trying to.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, after the introduction, that was pretty fun. I don't know how we could follow that up.
I said it could be pretty fun. I never said it was actually fun.
So I don't think I know I've met Alyson. Kyle, I've not met you. If you guys wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about yourselves, I think that would be great.
Sure.
Have at it.
Go ahead.
No. I can't argue as if it's. So we are the owners of 1620 Distilling Company. We've been in business for 3 years. 3 years. 3 years now.
Like Sue said, I've been in business really 3 years this month, so we're kind of coming up on December anyway as a anniversary date. 2 offerings out currently are small batch and are foolproof, and we'll talk about some stuff later on that we've got in the pipeline. But those are the 2 that's on the shelf now. We're super proud of them. Obviously, the small batch was double gold rated at San Francisco right out of the gate. So, we hit that a couple months out. The Full Proof's got a 93 rating at Wine Enthusiast, so we're really happy with it too.
Nice.
Really like to hear what you guys have to think about it, because it's kind of new to the market. We've only had it out a few months, probably 3 months at this point, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, it's still an exciting thing that you guys have, right? And that you're moving your company in another direction. Yeah, we'll get into that, but I want to ask you guys a question about the story behind everything, right? So can you tell us a little bit more about the story behind the grandfather of corn whiskey and what's going on there?
So where the 1620 comes from, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of started what the genesis of the brand comes from is really a genealogy study that my mom was actually doing. And so we stumble upon the fact that her maiden name is Thorpe, and then she keeps tracking everything back, and turns out that a guy named George Thorpe is I think it's my 7th or 8th great grandfather, right? What's significant about George in the year 1620, everybody associates that with the Mayflower, right? But there was something that was much more important than that happened in 1620. So George was sent here to found a college, basically, to develop a college in the Virginia colonies. He never gets around to that, though, because he discovers corn from the Indians in the region, and then starts to distill the corn into liquor. So he was essentially used to making beer in England, right? But he substitutes the corn in for the barley and produces what was America's first corn whiskey, right? And it's a pretty cool story. We've got documentation where he talks about it in letters back to his benefactors and stuff, and talks about how much better his corn whiskey is than English beer and stuff like that. So it's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. So I always tell everybody that if Elijah Craig is the grandfather of bourbon, then he's the great grandfather of corn whiskey, right? It's where it all starts, is with that story.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Now my legacy looks like shit, and I'm going to shut up.
One of the coolest stories around it all. This is Jake, by the way. Say hi, Jake.
Hi, Jake.
One of the coolest stories about it is 1620 is when he gets here and he does the distillation of the corn and stuff. 1622, he's actually killed by those same Indians.
Yeah.
So their friendship didn't work out. Let's say, right. When they go to collect all of his belongings from his estate, right, on the manifest for that's going on the ship going back to England, there's 3 bottles of whiskey that's listed on the manifest. So what those bottles would have been at that point, who knows, right? Probably some sort of jug of some sort, clay jug or whatever, right? But the cool part about it is when the stuff comes off the ship in England, the 3 whiskeys are no longer there. So they were consumed on the trip over.
Disappeared.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
Right.
No one got consumption during that trip at all.
Yeah. Nothing like corn, whiskey, and cholera. But so actually, you kind of preempted a question that I was going to ask about those expressions you offer. And obviously, we got to try the full. I'm actually already drank the full proof, if I'm being honest. So I'm not drinking it here, but it was very good. I liked it too much, clearly. But I think one thing I'm curious about, since we're talking about corn whiskey, I'll kind of go a different direction, is when you were kind of obviously going through doing some taste testing, were there any current people who are doing corn whiskey that you kind of look to for inspiration, or is there any that you find that you really enjoy that I like that? That's the kind of profile I'm looking for.
No, I wouldn't say there's anything that we were kind of saying this is the profile we want. We done a lot of tasting going into it and trying to find a blend that we like, right? We've been buying up a lot of stuff and doing blends and things like that. Our goal from the outset was something that everybody could drink, right? It's great to produce this stuff that's 140 proof or whatever, and all the macho bourbon guys are going to be able to say, yeah, we drink it without ice and all that. That's great. But that's a very small subset of the people, right? When we're trying to appeal to all the bourbon drinkers out there, we want to be a bottle that can be on your bar that you share with everybody, that everybody that comes in can drink and can enjoy. And that's really what we've tried to do with both our blends. The 90, we get a lot of great feedback from people that are not bourbon drinkers that are like, oh, wow, I can drink this, right?
Yeah.
I'm used to drinking a wine cooler or seltzer, I guess today, right? Sorry, I'm dating myself when I say wine cooler, right? They can drink a seltzer or whatever, but then now they can use our bourbon too, right? And it's the same thing on the 117. We really wanted to have something with a fuller, bolder flavor.
Yeah.
But the best part for me about our 117 is it doesn't drink like it's 117 proof. If I told you it was 95 to 100 proof, you're going to believe me on that. And that's consistently the feedback we get on it is, oh, this is very drinkable compared to what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And that's really always been our goal is a broader audience.
And I think those are fun. Obviously, it comes down to things like mash bills and, like that you can find a profile. And I think it's one of my favorite where I like high proof stuff. I'm admittingly, that's probably the majority of what I drink. But that's not like a thing. That's just, it happens to be the brands that I gravitate towards that happen to mainly do things like that. But I think that's a good balance to kind of strike where if you handed it to someone blind and gave it to them, they're not going to have that shock factor of, oh my God, this is 117. It's got a really good kind of more subtle profile while still having that complexity in there. So I think that's a cool approach.
Yeah. And that's what we're going for.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No, this is great. I'm a little curious on when you're going to do like a hazmat of a 162.01 proof.
Yeah, at some point we'll have to. It's kind of like the finished stuff, right? All the different finished barrels and stuff. Something I'm not a huge fan of, but at some point you got to do it because it's what's popular with everybody, right?
Yeah, and I think there is interesting finishes you can do, but it is very saturated right now. So it is finding that one that complements rather than covers up just a bad distillate or something like that. That's what I feel like sometimes people will do. It's like, what came out? This isn't good. Let's throw it in some wine cask or something to see what we can do with it. But when you're complementing something, I think that's a different approach and one that I agree. I'm not a huge fan of finishes, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So what if we wanted to visit? What could we expect if we came to visit? Do you have a tasting room? Like what's the vibe? What's the feel?
We've got a tasting room that's open now. We've been open with it for about a year or so now, I think. We've got obviously representation with our brand as well, but we kind of take a unique approach with our tasting room in that we'll have other local brands available as well to do tastings on those as well, just to kind of promote sort of the Eastern Kentucky distillation group that's there, right? There's probably really 3, I would say, bourbon brands that are located within probably 30 to 45 minutes of us. So we all tend to kind of work together and try to eventually, the goal is to sort of have that Southeast Kentucky bourbon trail, right? Sort of the mountain bourbon trail in that area. Not the mountains that Brian's used to, but we do have mountains in there. And so, that's kind of what we're trying to push from a tourist standpoint, those types of things. We certainly do tastings with our brands. Like I said, we'll even do tastings with some of the other local brands as well. We don't really have a full tour yet, just because we're still slowly developing the facility. We've got 3 buildings on our site, and we're kind of housing the tasting room now. We've got a bottling line in one and barrel storage in another one right now. So it's a developing process. Like I said, we've been going for about 3 years now. We've had that open for a year. So I feel like, we're well ahead of where we would want to be as a 3-year-old company, even though I get a lot of pressure from folks saying, we're not moving fast enough, but we're trying to pace ourselves and do things right.
Yeah.
Is this pressure from your wife?
Yeah, her and my old man. Yeah.
I'm not that bad. I'm reasonable with my expectations.
Reasonable.
Sort of.
I like that you're trying to compliment the mountains down there, because where I live, it's I would be happy with any type of topography, I guess is the word. Yeah. I don't need Colorado even. I mean, I'd be happy with Southern Kentucky. That would work.
Yeah, I got a pretty dope landfill by me that sometimes I drive by and think it's a mountain, but yeah, it's not the same thing. Yeah,
It's not the same.
It's not quite the same. It's not as scenic, but
Right.
Oh God, that must be a shitty view.
It's still an adventure, Try not to step on the heroin needles, but yeah.
And this is that's great. Thank you for that, Mark.
You're welcome.
Wow.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
Fucking Christ. All right, cool. So next question. Let's go into some of the stuff I want to go over this foolproof that we have currently, right? So
yeah. I love what you guys think about it.
Two of us actually have it. So Adrian, I actually want to know what Adrian thinks because her tasting notes are actually becoming pretty extraordinary.
They're developing,
yes.
we'll say.
So we're not joking about that, by the way. I mean, it sounds like we are, but we're not. You actually are becoming very awesome at it. Yeah. Still not sarcasm.
Awesome. Not sarcasm, are you sure?
I swear, I promise. I know that my natural tone and cadence sounds like that, but it's
okay.
I'm being genuine right now. Yeah, I'm being genuine right now.
I love that you mentioned that the proof doesn't really, it is higher than what you would think that it is.
Uh-huh.
So that I do like. I don't mind higher proof stuff, but sometimes I don't always want to do that, right? Sometimes I need something that's a little bit more. I don't want to say that word. I was going to say tame, but that's not really what I want to say. But I don't know. I really, it's got a nice long finish on it. I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's coming out of this for me.
Where do you get on the nose there? Because there's a wood sort of note on the nose that I can't really. I've not placed yet, honestly. It's not oak, but it's like a pine or something that I've not been able to place. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I did write down a few when I heard he drank mine. Was one.
That's a good sign, by the way.
It was really good. So there's a note, and it's one that I always like. I feel like I always kind of gravitate towards, and it was like it's almost like it's going to sound obvious considering we're talking about whiskey or specifically a corn whiskey, but it's almost like a cornbread note. So it's almost got this kind of slightly kind of yeasty. I like it personally. It's almost just like if you were to walk into just like a bakery and you just smell just like that fresh bread. That's kind of what I
was gonna say like buttery for some reason. Yeah. I think buttery.
Yeah.
I'm getting a couple different things. I'm getting I get that smell of the wood. I'm getting like a cherry oak or a pine, a cherry pine.
Yep.
That's out there, and it's kind of unique when it comes with it because I'm getting those. I'm getting that like a dark soaked leather, and then some pine flavor, and a little bit of dark cherry, but it's almost like a cherry wood.
So that's a good way to put it. So that cherry note is something that you'll find that's really prevalent throughout our whiskeys. The 90 proof has a very chocolate covered cherry palate to it. And then there's a lot of cherry picked up in the full proof as well.
Yes,
I do remember that from the bourbon ball. I don't remember much else, but I do remember that flavor.
Yeah,
you and me both.
And then I think the palate on the full proof has a lot of sort of a creme brulee type toasted sugar to it. Pick up a lot of that, and there's some sort of toasted marshmallow in the finish, I think, as well. Is the typical tasting notes that we'll get on it.
Yeah, from the very back end for that. That's kind of unique when you're saying that, because that creme brulee and then you're toasting that on top. And now I really want like a pumpkin with toasted marshmallows on top. Good catch. Maybe not.
Almost.
Yeah. Oops.
It does have a very sweet palate.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh God, that's fucking good. All right, I gotta set that down. That's exciting what you guys are going through with this and explaining the process from when you're doing it. Well, you're not explaining the process, but you're about to start your process and building it yourselves and distilling it and moving in the right direction. Can you tell us or possibly say about your new releases, or if you have any new releases coming up?
Yeah, so we've got a rye that's just about finished. We're still kind of working on the blend and the flavor profile on it. So the goal there is to have it out after the first of the year. We just recently signed a deal with a couple of the Shriner organizations there in Kentucky. We're going to be doing bottles for them, helping raise money and that sort of thing. So that's awesome. And then I can't say yet, but we do have a celebrity brand that we're working on that I'm hoping to have. I don't know, when do you guys publish this?
3 weeks,
something like that.
Yeah, so we should have it finalized by then, so you guys can stick it in the show notes or something once it's done. Okay. I'm hoping to have the contract signed on it by the end of the week, and then we can always pop in and give you a soundbite or something on that, whatever you want to do.
Perfect.
That's exciting, though. That's
we're
awesome.
excited. So we've really started probably in the last month or so. Kind of started the process of helping a lot of different folks launch brands and stuff like that. I think that's an opportunity that's in the market right now.
Yes.
It's a way for us to help on the income side as we're letting stuff mature and things like that as well, and help others out. So it really works for all the parties involved.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm jealous as shit because I want a celebrity, but that's about it.
Yeah, I don't know if we do yet or not. I'll let you know if you want one or not, but we'll see how it works.
Fair enough.
Would there, I guess, kind of jumping off that question, just because, and we kind of touched upon like what's popular right now, talk about finishing whiskeys, talk about hazmat proof, all the things that people are kind of interested in right now. If you weren't kind of, I guess, and I'm not necessarily saying that you're kind of barred by that, but like if you were free of any constraints of like what is popular right now, is there something that you'd want to make, even if it's not whiskey? Would you want to venture into American single malt, rum, things like that? Would that be something that you'd want to do versus what you feel like needs to be done?
What I really want to do, and I think we'll do it pretty soon, to be honest with you, is just 100% corn whiskey to be able to say we're going back to those roots, right? Of kind of where it all started and going that route. So I think that, is the thing. If we had something we wanted to do, that's probably what we want to do. But obviously the market dictates where we go, right?
Sure.
But we sort of strong-armed that in avoiding the finished whiskeys so far and stuff. But we've been really focused on keeping our SKUs limited so that we can make those SKUs the best that we can possibly make them, and not just come out with a dozen bottles, right? It's pretty easy, especially with the finished world out there, to just have 10 or 12 SKUs overnight, right? Yeah. And we've not tried to go that route. We've tried to focus on a couple things, focus on our local markets and our customers, and slowly build the brand out to other places.
I think that's a great approach. And I'd like to see that. Like I said, I actually love just pure corn whiskey. I think it's great, and I've only had a few, but there's only so many people doing it. So I think that'd be pretty cool. Almost like a heritage line, just of like bringing it, like taking it back to like what you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of, use that. You can't say original recipe, but it's as close as we can get to today, right?
Exactly.
I mean, we could, right? I mean, it's
God, if you could find that.
That's bourbon, right? It's 51% corn and 49% bullshit. So you just got to make it.
Well, Brian,
tell us how you really feel.
Brian, I think it's that time. I think it's that time. It's that time.
I think it is. Yeah.
I'll let you do this one. Now, who's doing this one?
Who?
Oh no, this is Adrian.
Is it? There you go, Adrian.
Put my name on it.
I sure did.
We just did.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Nothing like flying by the seat of your pants. So every show that we do, we always ask a question that's kind of off the cuff. That's not about whiskey because, as Martin would say, we get nerdy talking about whiskey.
Sometimes.
So I haven't asked this question. I haven't asked the quote squirrel question in a really long time. So we always ask a question about a squirrel because initially, the very first episode we did, I did not kill a squirrel. Martin knows it makes up this elaborate story about me and a squirrel, but it really was just I don't even remember the story now because we've made up so much bullshit. But here is the squirrel question. It's all for fun. If George Thorpe met a squirrel instead of Native Americans, what nut would he have used as a substitute of barley?
Oh, that's easy. Walnuts.
Yeah.
It's the only quality nut, you know.
For hanging them on. Never mind.
I mean, there's a variety of quality nut out there, but I think cool thing is the squirrel wouldn't kill him at least.
Right, that's true. Yeah,
he would have got on that ship with those 3 bottles. Damn it! So,
yeah,
that's awesome. A walnut. Actually, that would be a pretty good one. That would be kind of interesting. See how that would turn out. Distill a walnut.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. Oh, Alyson, what's yours answer?
What?
Yeah. You haven't said shit.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you know, a lawyer by trade. You know, he's good at talking. Good at talking.
And you're a social media presence by trade.
I know. I have a real job though. So yeah, no.
She's incredibly awkward. So
I am. I'm awkward.
I do know that.
I like my online persona thing is like in real life I'm not as outgoing as my online presence as I am. And there goes our light because dogs.
Jake.
That wouldn't even, it's like a whole thing in our house. I had to leave to go feed our 11-year-old, very blind lab because when it's time for her to eat dinner, she literally screams at us until we go feed her. That is our life. It revolves around, and she gets pills twice a day. And when it's time for her pill, Alexa tells us, and she will scream at us until we go get it. It is a whole thing.
Alexa screams at you?
Alexa tells us it's time for her pill.
Oh, okay. It's a new version of Alexa. Just screams.
She might. I mean, that's what our dog is. I mean, it's just this high pitched squeak, like bark of it's time, and she repeats it until we get up and go give it to her.
Yeah, I get it. I know the
sassy version of Alexa to come out. Feed me, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's her.
Adrian, I know you just did the squirrel question, and Brian, I believe you did this one yesterday. So I'm happy to take our favorite question if you want.
Okay. Yeah.
So one of our favorite questions of all time, besides the squirrel one, because I do love those, is really kind of I feel like this question sums up like what we do here at Bourbon with Friends. We drink whiskey and we're with friends, right? But kind of thinking back to your past, this could be any time. And this doesn't necessarily have to even do with whiskey if that's not what it is. But if it is, all the better. What is one of your guys' favorite whiskey memories from your entire life? This could be a memory from when you were a kid drinking alcohol. I don't know if that happened. But it could be from...
There's this one time when I was 8.
There we go. There we go.
There's this one time in band camp.
That's it's honestly a very difficult question to answer because that's sort of one thing that doing this has really done is just provided a lot of cool opportunities, right?
Yeah.
We always say that even if we never make $1 doing it, we're having so much fun doing it that it's worth it, right?
Yeah.
But I'll take it back a little further to like when I was 12 or 13, and alcohol in general memory, right? One of my favorite memories from growing up is would go to the lake on the weekends and spend the whole day with my uncle, and of course he's killing a fifth of Jim Beam, and then I'm 12 or 13 years old and driving us back home that day. So that's
Okay, I love that.
Right? It's cool though.
I love that. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Alyson, what about you?
Say, do you have one?
Not getting out scotch free on the last two questions.
I wasn't really a bourbon drinker up until I met him. So, like, if I have to really say, like, all this developed because I met Kyle and he got me into bourbon, and yeah, it's been a fun ride ever since.
That's awesome, though. It is. I mean, again, it's something that brings people together, and I've heard that so many times from people whose significant other was a fan of whiskey and they weren't until they met them, and then all of a sudden, maybe sometimes a slow process. Maybe first time it's like in a cocktail and it ends up just being like with ice, and then fast forward 5 years, and they're drinking it straight like Adrian. So
it's gonna happen.
It does happen. Well, no, we love hearing the different memories, and we should do like a coffee table book with everybody's memories in it from Bourbon with Friends.
Yeah,
for sure. Merch opportunity.
Yes.
Damn it! All right, give me a second.
There you go. Write it down, my friend. But that again, guys, thanks for coming to hang out with us. I do have another job. I'll do that job while Brian's jotting down something.
Yes.
We have to do our sponsor spot, which we want to thank 10th Mountain Whiskey. And again, you guys can check them out at 10thwhiskey.com. And right now, you can get 15% off if you do BWF15 as the discount code. Again, it's BWF15. Please go check it out. As I mentioned, we are in the holiday season. Go buy people in your family whiskey or a hat or a shirt or everything. Just buy everything. It's 15% off. You can also find them in 41 different states through online distribution, as well as 28 states across the country in regular retail distribution. So they are in your shops. If you're in one of those 28 states, you can go to their website and check that out. For any questions, information, again, it's 10thwhiskey.com. And I want to thank 10th Mountain Whiskey for being a sponsor on the podcast.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, what they said. Thanks.
Yeah.
Go get the 10th Mountain Rye. It's the best rye I've ever had.
I got it
really
sitting up there.
Really good. I polished
Really
mine
good.
off already.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for joining. And
Honestly,
everybody out there, just remember, a bourbon with friends can change the world, everybody. Have a day. Great
Thank
day.
you, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you, guys.
That's it for this episode of Bourbon with Friends. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, leave us a review to make it easier for others to find the show. You can also check us out on Instagram at Bwfpodcast. Thanks for listening.